welcome to the class. Okay, welcome to the class, and we'll start shortly. Before we start, I know a couple of people have been asking for my LinkedIn. I was off LinkedIn for a while, but I'll send you my LinkedIn now, and you can add me if you're interested. Okay, so I'm gonna send my LinkedIn to the chat, and you can add me from there. That's my LinkedIn page is on. I've been away for a while. I'll still be away for a while, but I'll be back. But I've opened it up now for anyone that wants to add me. Okay, great. So we'll start the class now, and we start with what we did last week, like a review session before we go straight into today's class. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. I was on the headset. So I was speaking to myself.
We could actually hear you earlier, so I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was on the headset. Okay, I guess it's better now. Okay, so I was just saying that people were asking for my LinkedIn last week. I've been away on LinkedIn for a while. I'm still going to be away, but I've sent my LinkedIn details. If you want to add me, you can add me, but I'll be back on LinkedIn shortly. Okay, so I want to share my screen so that we can start. I hope we all had a very good weekend and we rested well. I just checked, I went upstairs now and I checked outside and I felt like it was snowing. I'm like, oh my God, in April.
Welcome to our world.
I know, don't ruin my mood at all. I know Manitoba can be, but not we don't want that. Okay, so we'll start now. I believe everyone can hear me, and most people should have this link by now and they have joined. Okay, let me share my screen. One second. Okay, yeah, this is nice. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me open up the chat so I can see the messages. Okay, great. So we'll just go straight into this, and this is what we discussed last week. So we'll just like quickly go through it to say this is just like a reminder, okay? So last week, we talked about the full stack development. So we explained what the full stack designer is, what someone that can do the UX UI design. We explained what the full stack developer is, someone that can code the front end and the back end, right? If you can do back end coding and databases, and you can also do the front end, meaning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then you are a full stack developer. We talked about the different applications you need to be able to code with for front-end, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We talked about back-end. You need to be able to code in this programming language, and you need to know about databases, right? We talked about the different roles that you can have on the team. the full stack developer, front-end developer, back-end developer, UI UX designers, business analysts, data analysts, Scrum Master, product owner. We also talk about shared resources. You can have the Agile coach. Agile coach is not dedicated to a Scrum team. They are always there to help different Scrum teams. We have a data engineer. They might not be dedicated. You might be sharing them with other Scrum teams. We talk about the security people, the risk consultant. So most of the ones in the shared resources are shared within teams. They are not dedicated to a particular Scrum team. We talk about UX UI designer. We talk about the fact that in most Scrum team, you have someone doing the UX UI designer. Sometimes it might even be the role of a business analyst to do the UX UI design, right? Sorry, I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second. I want to stop my WhatsApp from my laptop so that you don't keep hearing that sound. Okay. You should be able to see my screen now. Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about business analysis. So we talked about who is a business analyst, what the role of a business analyst, what you expect a business analyst to be able to do, the required techniques, the skills you expect the business analyst to have, the different names they can call it business analyst. You can be a consultant, but what you're doing is business analysis. You can be called a product manager, but what you're doing is business analysis. You can be called a product owner. What you're doing is more of business analysis, okay? We also talk about quality assurance. So why did we talk about quality assurance? We were talking about quality assurance because we needed to understand what software testing is all about, right? Because when you are working on software development project, you're always going to be doing testing. There'll be testing, and there are different kinds of testing, right? So we talked about what quality assurance is. We then talked about that in software development, you have to test all through, right? You have to test from planning, right? What happens if you're a software tester? What are you going to be doing in planning? If in define, when you are designing, when the team is designing and building, what will be your role? You'll be finalizing your test scenarios, right? When it's time to test, then you now start actually doing the test, right? And they can be different kind of testing, manual or automated testing, right? We talked about test strategy. We talk about test plan, acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria, if you're working within an agile team, for each of your stories, they will have an acceptance criteria, right? Test strategies, how do you want to carry out your testing? What type of testing you'll be doing? What is the scope of your test, right? These are the things you put in your strategy. Remember what strategy is. Strategy is just a plan. We are saying that these are my plans for how I'm going to test. This is how I'm going to report my bugs, right? This is how I'm going to do all those, these are the tools I'm going to use. So you're putting all those things in place. A test plan is just something that has those scenarios, the different scenarios you want to test. What are the results you are expecting, right? So those are the things you put in your test plan. And if you are working in an agile environment, you'll be thinking in such a way of acceptance criteria, okay? We talked about the different kind of testing, black box testing, gray box, white box. When we talk about black box, we're saying manual or UI testing. This is where the software tester is focusing on. When you're on the Scrum team and someone is telling you, I'm a QA engineer, I'm a QA lead. This is what they are doing. They are either doing a manual or UI automation testing. If they are doing manual, that means they are documenting everything. They're doing it one after the other. They have different scenarios. But if they are doing UI automation testing, that means they know how to write scripts, right? They are able to write scripts to test, right? So that's the difference between the two. And gray bug testing is more of the developers and QA that are good with script writing, right? They do integration testing. But when you talk about white bug testing, you're talking about unit testing, system testing. It's more of the developers' work to do that, right? And we said there are different other kind of forms of testing. So we have the performance testing, right? To test your performance. There are different kind of performance testing. You have the load testing, right? When you talk about load testing, you are trying to perform, to check under a user load to see, okay, what is the capacity, right, that this application can take? What is the capacity? Then when you do stress testing, you are saying that you are trying to find out under extreme workload, right? What is the scalability of this application, right? So you're saying that, okay, for example, maybe you've done load testing, 500 was still working, 500 users can still be on it. You now say, let me do 1,000, let me do, 2,000. Like, at what point will this application fail? At what point will it fail? That's stress testing. So all these are classified under performance testing. There's also security testing. Security testing is when you are performing to review flaws, vulnerabilities, right? So that they are not exposed. You are not exposed. They are not exposed by the users, because sometimes you go to some people's website, it's very vulnerable, right? You can see there's an opportunity. There are flaws in the application. There's an opportunity for an hacker to actually get information, right? Because when those kind of issues happen, right, there is loss of customer data, right? Then there is loss of trust, right? And when the customer starts, they don't trust you, they don't trust your website, you start having decline in revenue. Or when the hackers are able to access those information, your website it will always be down, right? Because at the end of the day, they keep attacking you with different type of attack. They can use denial of service attack, right? So you want to do security testing. So it depends on the organization you have, right? Some organization don't do. Some organizations. Some organizations don't do that, some will do, right? So the truth is that it's very good to do that, because at the end of the day, you don't want to expose your organization to vulnerabilities, right? To hackers. That's what you don't want to do. So we do security testing. So different kind of testing, but the most common one that you experience on the team is the manual or UI automation testing. The developers will deal with the unit and system testing, okay? We also talk about bug reporting, right? We said that bugs are inevitable. Okay, this is where we stopped on last week. We said bugs are inevitable, right? There is no way, there will always be bugs, right? So now we're saying that how do you want to, someone was explaining to us how they identify bugs within how they report bugs, right? Last week, when those bugs are submitted, they now look at the bugs and say, is this a real bug, or is this just something? Is it, sometimes they call it false positive, right? Is this something that is not real? Like, it's just maybe sometimes users will try something, and if it doesn't work the way they expected, they'll just say, oh, this is a bug, and they document it. Sometimes it's not really a bug. It might even be the way the application is supposed to work. So the team will look at those details and now identify what is real. If they realize that this is a real bug, they document it in that, okay, they are going to work on this. Then during their sprint, they decide the bugs they want to work on during that sprint, right? Depending on how critical that bug is, because they will do a triad to say this is very critical. The application cannot work if we don't fix this bug, right? And they report it. Now, for the bug reporting, they use different tools, right? I showed you last week how you can use Jira to document your bug, right? Some people use Bugzilla, some people use Rally, some people even use that GitHub to document bugs. But I think the most common one is Jira, right? If you're a developer, I think you mostly use the GitHub, right? The Jira one is more from the user perspective to document the bugs. Okay. So that was what we did last week, Wednesday. Do we have any questions before we go ahead? Okay, so today we're going to be talking about product management. Now, a lot of people, I know you've heard about product management. You're wondering, what is product management? How is product management different from project management? You know, why is it that everywhere you turn to, the next thing you hear about is product management? So I will do a bit of introduction into product management, give you a bit of understanding of what product management is. And I believe that by the time you finish this class today, you have an understanding of what product management is. You'll be more comfortable discussing product management. Okay. So today we're going to talk about what is product management, what is a product, what are the forms of product managers, difference between product and project manager, product lifecycle, activities of a product manager / product owner. This is very key because this is what is going to lead us into Agile. This is what is going to lead us into our Scrum, right? So I want you to understand this so that when we start discussing Scrum, you know when we talk about product owner, you understand what we're talking about. You understand what the roles of a product owner is, okay? So what will be the learning outcome from here? The learning outcome is that you understand the foundation of product management, understand the relationship between product management and project management, understand the type of product manager that exists within the ecosystem, understand the activities of a product manager. Okay, so I'm going to start now, and then if you have any question, you can put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. Okay, so what is product management? I want to give 3 people an opportunity to tell me what they understand by product management. You can raise your hand. What is your understanding of product management? Or what do you think product management is? Nobody?
Managing a product.
Managing a product?
Being in charge of a particular product.
What is a product? What is a product?
Okay, I could say maybe a particular project that is being worked on at a particular time.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ma. Any other person? What is a product?
Hello, can I say it could also be product management? Just my, let me say, layman explanation.
No problem.
It could be the managing the product, like someone mentioned, also the consumer's reaction towards the product, or the market value of market acceptance of the product. You know, I don't know.
That's okay. Yeah, you're speaking on the elements. The elements are there. You're speaking about it. So yeah, I can hear you. Benita?
So a product can be a tangible or intangible thing, something like services, wherein you start with market research, and then you go and, you know, actually collect all the information, how to develop the product till the UAT. I think the whole process, end to end.
Okay. Yeah, you're speaking some of the elements. I can hear marketing, I can hear research, I can hear end to end. Okay. I'll take 2 more, and the 2 will be Perry Kim. Okay, Messi, you were raising up your hand. I think you dropped your hand. So I'll pick Perry Kim and Erica. So start with Perry Kim.
Okay.
I hope I pronounced the name rightly.
It's Perry Kimi.
Okay, Kimi.
I think for the project management, it should involve something about planning. When you plan something and you try to market this thing that you've planned, or something you've developed, you want to launch this particular product you've developed. I think it's something about that.
Okay, you have an idea. At least you said it's something we want to launch. Okay, good. Erica.
Hi, Florence. I wanted to add to what my classmate just mentioned. So my understanding of product management is you're managing a product, whether that could be a service or a particular feature, and you're managing it from inception all the way through to, I believe, to the end of the product life cycle. So my understanding, I'm kind of comparing it to a project manager versus a product manager. And I believe a product manager stays with that product until the business is done with it. So they're managing after it's launched to make sure that it's successful. If there's any upgrades or changes that need to happen throughout that product's lifetime, that product manager, it's kind of like it's like the manager's baby, so to speak.
Manager's baby. I love that. It's the manager's baby. So the product is the product manager's baby. Thank you, Erica.
Okay. You're welcome.
We're supposed to have done Akin. What do you have to say? Anything different?
Well, nothing really different than product management could be like managing the life cycle of a product.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's go into it, and I'm sure you learned one or two things today. Then you can, ask more questions as we go along. Okay, so what is product management? The way I'm going to talk about product management is I know a lot of people have been hearing about product management. The way it's easier for developers to describe their functions, right? They say, oh, they do front-end coding, back-end coding. But for product management, it was just that one word, product, right? About 10 years ago, the word product was barely discussed as a function. It was just, we're working on a product or we're doing something product. But over the last 10 years, their product managers have been in demand, a lot in demand, right? Even WSD published an article, I think about 2 years ago, saying that a lot of people that have finished their MBA, their post-MBA, most of the jobs they get now is product manager role, right? And it's kind of frightening because everywhere you turn to, you're seeing product manager. Then you keep wondering, okay, is that the winning thing? You see a business analyst saying, what's happening here? Product manager role. Project managers are saying, product manager. Consultants are saying product manager. Is it like you're taking over all our roles and turning it to a product manager, right? So what is it? What is product management? Product management is an intersection between the business, design, and technology. So what is product management? Product management is just like, it's like an important role, right? Product management look at it as an intersection between someone that deals with the business, someone that deals with technology, and someone that deals with the design. So is the midpoint for those three things, right? So a product, when you say product management, you're saying that I understand the business, right? I understand a bit of technology. I don't want to say I understand technology because people now say, I can't be a product manager because I don't know technology. I understand a bit of technology. I understand design. I understand how to help a user understand, like putting a journey map together, right? So that a user, I can understand, I can feel a user, I can understand what a user wants. So you are the intersection between those three areas, those three segments, the UX, the technology, and the business, right? So when you talk about product management, you're talking about responsibility. The responsibility will include things like strategy roadmap. You want to do strategy. You want to do the product roadmap. You want to define the features of the product, right? So that intersection, that is what we call product management. The intersection between the business, technology, and design. And when you talk about business, you are talking about profit and loss, cost of goods. You're talking about marketing, right? You're talking about communications, right? And when you talk about technology, what kind of technology are we using for this product, right? And when you're talking about design, we've talked about UX, UI design, those kind of information, persona, journey map, wireframing, right? So product management is ability to manage all these three things together, right? So when you talk about product managers, you can find product managers everywhere. You can find them internally within the organization. You can find them externally within the organization, right? So when product managers are working, if you say you're a product manager, you'll be working with a lot with sales. You'll be working a lot with engineering. We call them engineering or technology. You'll be working a lot with designers, right? What are you trying to do as a product manager? You're just looking for the best possible customer experience, right? So if it requires you to get technology to do something so that your customers can have the best experience, you are the one making sure that happens. If it's for you to discuss with the business people, maybe marketing or sales department, you're the one in charge to make sure that things are working through. So you are the integrator, right? Between those three people, you are integrating everything together. So when the product manager is someone that understands the vision of the product. So for example, when you're working on a product, you understand what the vision is. I'm going to tell you how product manager come about this vision, how they put them together, right? So you are the one that understands it. So when you call yourself a product manager, you are just an integrator between technology, UX, and business. Okay, I hope that is clear. So here we'll be focusing on software. I'll first tell you about what a product is, then we'll now focus on software products. Okay, so what is a product? A product can be anything, right? A product can be either a software, it can be hardware, it can be, it can be virtual, it can be physical, right? So a product can be anything. So I've listed some of the products for you. We can see here on the screen, we can see Instagram. Instagram is a product, right? You can have a product manager managing Instagram. You can see that door handle, that's a product, right? You can see WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a product. You can see another Instagram below there. You can see Instagram stories, right? That Instagram stories can also be a product because you can have a very big product, but you have different product managers managing the different areas of the product, right? So all these are products. Uber Eats is also a product, right? Uber Eats is not physical, right? It's not something you can see. It's virtual, but it is still a product, right? Physical products are things you can see, right? They are durable goods. You can see car, furniture, computer, but we have virtual as well, right? We have education, we have softwares, right? So all these are products, right? Now, you understand what a product can be. You have an idea of what a product is, right? And you have an idea of what product management is. So product management, when you think product manager, think intersection, think someone that integrates business, technology, and design together, right? Now, I now have an idea of what a product is. Your product can be hardware, it can be a software, it can be physical, it can be virtual. Now, how are products classified? So we have different classification of products. We have the business product. So think of business product like things that the company use to operate their businesses, right? So if you look at an example of a business product, think CRM, think ERP. Those are examples of products, like their software, right? You know what a CRM is, like customer relationship management tools or application, which Salesforce is one of them, right? We have ServiceNow, we have Zoho, we have SAP. All this SAP is a ERP system. You know, these are business products, right? So these are products that help the company to operate their businesses. We also have industry products, right? So these products, they serve an industry. They are focusing on an industry. So when we talk about industry, we're talking about energy industry, healthcare industry. You talk about financial services, right? If you look at let's give. I'm focusing on technology related products here, okay? So let's look at an example of EHR. electronic health record. There's an application for that. That application is focusing on which industry? It's focusing on the healthcare industry. So sometimes you have products that are industry specific. I don't know, for some of you that work in Nigeria, you know there's a product called Finacle, right? That product is focusing on financial industry, right? So you have products that are industry specific as well. And now you have products that are customer type products, right? Now, this customer type products, the two major customer type we have is either consumers or business, right? You know, you hear of products that say business to business. Those kind of business to business are, there's a business that is selling to another business. So look at it, for example, Microsoft is a business. They will sell business to CIBC, to RBC. RBC is also a business, right? That's a business to business, right? RBC is consuming the product, but they are customers, right? But they are a business as well. So that's what we call business to business. We also have what we call business to consumers. That's to me and you, right? Business to consumer. So there is also that type of product as well. And the last one, they call them the consumer product, right? This consumer product has been existing even before product management became very popular. So consumer product was already established in marketing, right? Because they use it to determine the behavior, right? The behavior of users to those products, right? So, and those consumer products are divided into four. We have the convenience product, we have the shopping, we have the specialty, and the unsought. So when we say convenience product, right? Convenience product are the regular products we all buy. Things that, you know, when we talk product that we purchase, like we don't think about it. We purchase them repeatedly. We don't think too much about it. So when you talk about a Crest toothpaste, right? If I go to the market, if I'm used to buying Crest toothpaste, I'll just go there and buy it, right? Or you know, anytime I go to the market, I always pick gum, mint gum, right? I don't think too much about it, right? I just buy them, you know, gum, toilet paper, soap, shampoo. I'm used to it, right? They are convenience good, right? And most time, when you want to market those kind of good, right? Most people they buy those goods with impulse, right? So you don't see too much people doing marketing on those kind of product because it's something that people would generally buy, right? Because they don't. It's not something that people would think through before they buy it, right? Most time for convenience good, what is key is the brand recognition, right? Because I'm used to buying, let's say, Crest toothpaste, and I already know them, I'll buy Crest, right? So those kind of things for the convenience product is more about the brand, right? Does the brand have a recognition? It's easier. People will always pick up their product, right? Now for shopping products, right? Those kind of products, you buy them less frequently, right? You don't buy them as much as convenience products, right? And because the shopping products are like, they have higher price, right? They are not as they are not as cheap as convenience product, right? Before you make those purchases, you think, right? You have a decision, you make a decision, because when you talk about shopping products, you compare them because they have quality, they have style, like in terms of what is the quality of this product? What is the style? Because your style too will determine if you want to buy those products, right? So you even do research before you buy those kind of products, right? For example, if I want to buy a car, right? Maybe I like Ford. Let's say I like Ford, right? So I will compare Ford with maybe Hyundai, right? So I will start looking at the quality. So I'm making a decision, right? They are higher end goods, right? So those are the ones we classified under shopping, right? So for you to market this kind of goods, you know, you put in more content to persuade the buyers to buy this kind of product, right? Because they are different, right? You want to tell them why they should come to me, right? Why they should buy Ford instead of buying an Hyundai or something like that, right? So those are more, we call them shopping. They are more high ends, right? Now the specialty products, those ones are a niche area, right? They are products that are a specific group of people. You target those people, right? The promotion is targeted at a certain set of people. Let's use iPhone, for example. you know why it's targeted at a certain set of people? Because those consumers, they don't deliberate, they don't need to compare too much, right? They will always go for those kind of products, right? For example, now I use iPhone, right? So I won't wake up tomorrow and maybe go use Samsung. For example, I won't wake up tomorrow and say, let me go and use Samsung. What I will wake up to do is I will keep looking at iPhone. iPhone will keep sending me messages to tell me that, oh, we've now upgraded, there's a latest version, iPhone, let's say iPhone 13. Right? What I'll be looking at is, do I need to move to iPhone 13? What are the new features that iPhone has brought out that I need to move? Why that will make me move to iPhone 13? Do you understand what I'm saying? Someone that is using Samsung too will say, the latest Samsung is out. Okay, these are the new features. Do I need it now? Should I move? So they are specialty good, right? They have a brand identity. There's a perception of that product. So when you come to specialty, you're talking about a niche area. So for someone like me, I will just be looking at upgrading my iPhones, right? Someone else too that uses Samsung will think of upgrading their Samsung, right? So those are the kind of product we put under specialty, niche product. They have a targeted customer. And the unsought products are things that we don't care about, like we don't care, but they are needed, right? They are needed. Those kind of products are the ones that, let me think, wait, your fire extinguisher is an example of this product. As I don't know if anybody has ever gone to the market and they will start thinking at a fire extinguisher and start looking at the different brands of fire extinguisher. When you go there, you just see the fire extinguisher, you pick one and you buy. Right? Because it's not, you know that you need it, right, for your safety, but you're not buying it because you prefer it to, like the way we will say we prefer iPhone to Samsung or other. You don't do all that, right? Because they are not something people don't really care, but they need it. So things like batteries, they are unsought products, right? So that's the way consumer products have been divided. So we have 4 classifications, which is the business product, industry product, because sometimes the industry you have will determine the kind of product you'll be working with, right? We have the customer type product. The organization you work for will also determine the type of product you'll be working in. Are you going to be working with a B2B product or you're going to be working with a B2C product, right? And we have the consumer product, which is convenience, shopping, specialty, and unsought. Yes, Erica, specialties are targeting loyal group, right? People that are loyal, that they will always buy that product, right? So most kind of those products, you think about how to make it better for them, right? So those are what is a product is, and those are the classification of a product. At least we have an idea of what a product is, and we understand what the classification of products are. So what are the forms of product managers? So every time here, I'm a product manager. What are the different product managers you can have? You can have internal PMs. You can have B2B PMs and B2C PMs, right? So what separates them, right? What separates them is the stakeholders they serve, right? Who are these people representing? Who are they managing? What is their customer profile? That's what separates most of them, right? So when you talk about internal PMs, remember I said we focus on technology. When you talk about internal PMs, look at them as people that make software for the organization, right? Software that are used by employees to help to get the job done. You understand? So see software that, let's say for example now, there's one application that we're working on, right? That application will be used by a department within the team to help them with incident management. That kind of application, the product manager on that project is working as an internal PM, because the people that is going to be serving, the customer is representing, the customer expectations, right, are internal customer, they are employee, right? So when you say you are a product manager, you want to know the kind of product manager you are. Are you an internal PM? That means the people you're serving, they are within your organization, right? You're developing a dashboard. those kind of things for maybe for them to be able to see the updates of what they are working on. Those kind of applications, they are internal applications, right? And it is always easier for you to start as an internal PM. So if you're starting, you want to become a product manager, it's easier for you to start as an internal PM because the customer you are serving is within your organization. What does that mean? It is control. You can control it, right? You understand them a bit, right? So why it's also easy for you to start internally is that it helps you mentally. It prepares you mentally because what will that do? It will help you understand the tools. That means because you're still, especially for those that don't have a lot of technology knowledge, you want to understand the technology, you want to learn about the marketing tool, you want to understand how to manage things, how to manage customer expectation. So it's easier for you to start as an internal PM because you're dealing with people internally, and it's the easiest form of product management. That's the easiest form because one, there's less risk, right? Because you're not dealing with most time it might not be, when they say profit and loss, right? It might not be in that scenario. You might just be managing the cost benefit for that project, but you might not be making a loss for the organization. So it's easier compared to B2B and B2C. So now when you talk about B2B, that's business to business, right? So in this form, you are managing a product that other businesses are using. So remember, internal is within the same organization. Let's say RBC, let's say I'm a product manager in technology, or I'm a product manager in RBC. I can be managing a product that capital markets will use. You get, it's internal. Now, when you say B2B, I'll be managed, let's say you are managing a product. So you're working in such a place like, let's say, Microsoft, or you're working in Google, or Oracle, or Amazon, those kind of organization. They serve other businesses. They serve other businesses like Citibank, RBC, Loblaws. You understand what I'm talking about? Because let's say, for example, now, a Microsoft product manager, let's say we have a product manager in Microsoft, Azure product manager, right? Azure is a cloud solution, right? So Azure is how will I explain Azure to you? Azure is a cloud solution where you can use for your infrastructures, use for your storage, right? So you remember when we talk about data centers, where we have data centers on premise, where you have all your infrastructure, servers, all those things IT people deals with, right? Now imagine them, not having it in your location, within your within on-premise where you can see it, right? Imagine having it in the cloud. So when they say having it in the cloud, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It exists in one location, but you're not the one managing it. You transfer that management to Microsoft, to Oracle. You've transferred it to Amazon, to Google, right? So Azure is owned by Microsoft, right? For Amazon, we call them Amazon Web Services, right? So imagine someone that works with Microsoft and is an Azure product manager is going to come over to somewhere like RBC, CIBC City and say, oh, what are your plans to move your data center, your servers, your infrastructures to the cloud, right? So now he's a product manager, but he's a B2B product manager because he works with Microsoft, but his customer base are another set of business, right? Like CIBC, RBC. So that's what we call the business to business product manager, right? Some new people that get into product manager, they also start from here. But the truth is that is more difficult. I don't want to say the word difficult. It's more it's stressful, like because in this situation you are dealing with a lot of profit and loss. There will also be a lot of deadline. Your organization, like if you're working in Microsoft, they are bothered about what you bring in, your profit and loss, right? As you are going to these businesses, how are you bringing in more businesses, right? Because it's not just about you going to talk about that product. They want to see, okay, you're talking about the product, but are you getting in new customers? Are you getting in new people, new businesses, right? So it's a bit more difficult, right? It's a bit more difficult, but it's flexible. It's flexible, right? It's flexible compared to the internal PMs, but I think it's easier for you to start as an internal PM than a B2B PM, because B2B PM sometimes is you have to be technologically sound. You have to understand how to facilitate. Your negotiation skills has to be on top notch, right? Because you're going to be working with extreme deadlines. You understand? And return on investment is key. Right? You can't tell me that you go to RBC, CIBC, and other. You're not telling me how much you are going to make from them, and you're just telling me you're having business discussion. You understand? So it's more you want to be, that kind of consultant behavior. The way consultant behave. You want to understand how to do discovery sessions, how to run a strategy sessions, right? So is more. So that's why I said that is easier to start as an internal PM, because you can use that opportunity to learn those skills before you start doing B2B, right? And the last one is the B2C. Oh my God, this is more. For me, I think this is the hardest one, because you have to be very creative, right? Because in this, when it comes to B2C, they are dealing with people like us. Do you know how we can be? I'm sure you guys have gone to Instagram and see comments, right? You see the way people comment. You see how consumers can be. So imagine you being a product manager for consumers like us. Do you know how we're going to be reacting to things? Imagine. So when it comes to that, I think for those kind of product managers, they need to be very creative, right? You're going to be working under pressure, right? Because you have millions of users that you are dealing with, right? You're going to be, is a lot. Like, you're going to be dealing with a lot. Okay, let's use an example. Imagine a product manager for, let's say, Twitter. Let's say you're a product manager at Twitter. Remember when Clubhouse came out and Clubhouse said, oh, you can do, you don't need to be typing messages, right? You can just hop on the phone, join a group, and start discussing instead of you typing, right? For people that don't like to type, you know what that means? They'll say, oh, thank God, I can finally leave Twitter. There's Clubhouse now. We can always have a discussion instead of me typing all the time, right? So as a product manager in Twitter, one of the things you think is, oh my God, people are going to be leaving our platform. I don't want people to leave. I need more revenue, right? I need people to stay on this platform, right? Now, what happened is, I remember that time that Clubhouse came out, Twitter too now started something. They called it Twitter Space. Now you can also talk on Twitter. You don't even need to leave Twitter to go to another platform to talk. You can also do those conversations on Twitter. If you don't want to chat, you can start a Twitter Space and people will join and you guys can have that discussion. That's what we call competition. You don't want people to leave. That's being creative, right? So when I talk about B2C product managers, they need to be creative. They need to be thinking, because they want to keep the market share, right? Another way where Clubhouse lose out was they didn't quickly do the develop for Android users. They were focusing on just iPhone users. And before you know it, Twitter Space started, other things started, right? So you don't want to lose your market share. You want to be very creative on time. You want to start thinking, and you also want to push your product out on time, right? So that's why I said B2C is more difficult, because you are working under pressure. You are working millions of users and on your platform, right? So you are trying to be fast about the things you do, because you don't want to lose that customer. So I feel it's more challenging, and there's a lot of uncertainty. It doesn't mean that because you now did a new feature, Twitter Space, do you think people will now come to use your product? It doesn't mean they will use your product, right? It doesn't guarantee. But that's why, as the product manager, you are doing different things. You are doing surveys. You are talking to people. You are going to the different charts to see what people are talking about, right? Different forums to find out, oh my God, when you go to Facebook community, sometimes when you are about to do something on Facebook will ask you some questions. Have you done this? Have you tried this product? Have you tried this? They are trying to find out if you are interested if they pushed out that new product, will you be interested to use it? They are doing their research, right? So that's why you have to keep doing that. If not, your product will be useless and people won't use it anymore. You see what happened to Nokia? Remember, when we talk about Nokia was the top in the game. They were really at the top, right? But it got to a point, nobody was hearing about Nokia anymore, right? Same thing happened to BlackBerry. Where's BlackBerry today, right? I don't even know if anyone still uses BlackBerry. Do you understand? So you need to keep up with your game when it comes to consumers. So if you want to be a product manager in that space, especially if you are very creative, you'll be good at it, okay? So that's the different forms of product managers. Okay. Any question? Okay. What are the Vinita?
Yes, I have a question regarding B2B product manager, because I think I lost the crux in between a lot of information.
You did what?
I lost the crux, like
okay.
Yeah.
You said B2B, right? B2B is the one that said you manage other business. You're a product manager for other business. So meaning I work at Microsoft, but my customer is RBC. My customer is CIBC. My customer is Citibank, right?
Like
so I'm managing product that they are using. So those are my clients. That's what we call business to business.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
Okay. Common product manager roles. So these are the common product manager roles you see. We have product manager, right? So a product manager, their focus is they manage the entire product life cycle and product roadmap. Gafar, you said explain B2C. I said B2C is business to consumer, consumers like us. That's when I was using the Twitter space as an example, right? And Clubhouse. So those products that we use, we call those kind of product managers business to consumer. So Twitter to us, Instagram to us, Facebook to us, WhatsApp to us. Those are B2C product managers. Is that clear? Okay, so we're talking about common product manager roles, right? So we said there are some organizations you have product managers. What is their role? They are managing the entire product lifecycle and product roadmap. I will show you what the product lifecycle is, and I will also show you the product roadmap. Okay. Now, who are the stakeholders for a product manager? Most times they will have internal and external. Engineering, sales, marketing, customer success, legal, leadership, board member, customer. And what they are just saying here is that remember that map that says product manager is the integrator between the business, technology, and design. That's what they are just saying here, that your focus is the product life cycle, but these are the stakeholders you'll be dealing with. But because if it's a technical issue, if there's a development issue, you talk to engineering. If it's something that you want to market, you talk to marketing team, right? You are the in-between for everything, right? So they call them product owner. Now, for that product owner is like a role within the Scrum team. We're going to get into Scrum. So when you start hearing product owner, you understand when we start talking about it in Scrum. So product owner is focusing more on the development team. So what does the product owner do? The product owner, their role is they help in prioritizing the product backlog. So you know that product backlog is, as a think like this, business analyst, you write business requirements. Now, when you are working in an agile environment, those business requirements, they call them user stories. So imagine you have a document that is full of business requirements. Imagine now putting them into a tool, like a software called Jira. They will now say that's the product backlog. So those business requirements you are writing, think about it from a product perspective, right? They will now call it product backlog. So those business requirements you documented, in an agile setting, they call them product backlog. What is product backlog? It's just user stories that you've put together right? And you put them in a tool somewhere that these are all the stories, these are all the features we want to create, right? Those things are what we call product backlog. They are just the features of that product. So look at the product, for example, Instagram. We want to have Instagram story. We want to be able to add pictures. We want to be able to comment on a picture. We want to be able to like a picture. We want to be able to log in with our username and password. We want to be able to authenticate people by, telling them to verify with their email. All those things that I'm listing, they are all features, stories that we want to work on. Now, putting everything together and putting it inside one document or one tool or one Excel is what we call our product backlog. Okay? And the people that are going to be implementing those work, that are going to be designing what our story. So if I say that I want to be able to log in, right, using username and password, someone that would design what it looks like, how the field will look like. We call them designers, right? Someone that would develop it, that will code it. Remember those full stack developer that I talk about? Someone that will do those front end and backward work. We call them developers. So the product owner is just managing this backlog by prioritizing it, by saying that, oh, no, the next feature we want to do is we want to be able to like our pictures. That's what we should focus on, right? So because he is now looking at it and say, okay, is it like that should come first or commenting on the picture? Is the one prioritizing it based on value, right? He's talking to the consumers, the customers, and people are saying, I wish I was able to like this picture, right? He's seeing that more comments are coming like that. They are doing surveys. He will now use those reports to prioritize, to prioritize that product backlog, that story within the product backlog. Like these are the stories that the developers should work on next. So that's what the product owner is doing. Now we have people that we call growth product managers. So in some organization, they have people they call growth product manager. What are they focusing on? They are focusing on business outcome. They are focusing on growth, customer retention, revenue. So when you think of a growth product manager, think of a situation where the product is already existing or the product is already launched into the business, but we need someone to make it grow, right? We've launched it, but we need someone to keep making it grow. Okay, Lauren?
Yes, please, Florence. So just a quick clarification. Who assigns tasks from the product backlog? Is it the Scrum Master or the product manager or the product owner?
Who assigns tasks from the
product backlog? Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna get there. So I don't want to rush this, but I will tell you. Okay, from the product backlog, right? The product owner will prioritize that product backlog. So what I mean by prioritize, the ones we want to do next is to put it at the top, right? So that when it's time for sprint planning, right, the developers, right, and the product owner will decide that these are the ones we're doing next and take those items, those features, they will take it to the sprint backlog. When they get to the sprint backlog, and they start the sprint, the developers will assign themselves to the task they want to do next, right? Till all the features in the sprint backlog is done. There's a difference between sprint backlog and product backlog, okay? So from the sprint backlog, they take those tasks and start working on it, okay? Till they finish. Nobody assign any task to them, but the product owner has decided with the team that this is what we are doing in the next sprint, right? But everybody within the team will be picking the task they can do till they finish that sprint. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So we talked about growth product manager. So the growth product manager, you're focusing more on the business leaders because what are they saying? They want to see the return on investment. They want to see the customer retention. They want to see the revenue. How much are we making from this product, right? Because that product is already in existence, right? Yeah, your own focus is to make it grow, to make it so that the product won't die, right? So you keep making it better, right? You're focusing on making it grow. Then we have technical product manager. Those ones, they focus on the functionality, right? So in some organization, you have a product manager there will be two types of product manager. There will be one that focusing on growing the product. That one will be focusing on marketing, doing a lot of survey, customer engagement. They will have the one that focus on technical, right? For specification, like, okay, we want to do this. This is how the next function of the product will be. The growth product manager will say, this is what the user wants. The user wants to be able to dislike a picture. The product manager, the technical product manager will now be discussing with the developers and say, is this even possible? Can we create another, something that can dislike a picture the way we had the like? Can we just do the opposite of it? No, they will be discussing things like that, the technicality of the feature, right? But in some organization, you'll be the one doing everything, both the growth and the technical. So when you read your job description, you will know that this is what you're supposed to focus on, right? It will tell you if you're going to be focusing on just the technical aspect or you're going to be focusing on both the technical and the growth aspect. They will now have the platform product managers. Those ones, they create an optimized technical component shared across multiple products. So when you see things like this, is shared across multiple products. For example, you can have someone that is managing a product called like a cybersecurity product, like a Prisma product. You know, that cybersecurity product is not just for one, it's shared across teams, across different products, right? It's a security product, but it's not going to be for one product. That Prisma will be used to do scanning across multiple products, right? So those kind of people, they call them platform. They are platform product manager. They are focusing on the platform, right? OpenShift, our platform, OpenShift, we use OpenShift, right? To say, okay, we want to move things to the cloud. We use Ilios to move things to the cloud. They will focus on that platform. That Ilios is not that one product is using it. It's several products that will use it to move their application to the cloud. So that's what we call platform, because they are shared across multiple products. They call them platform product manager. And you see this kind of things more in places like a lot of technology companies. You'll see them. Even within financial industries, we have them as well. So when you hear things like platform, know that they are not focusing, they are focusing on a product that will be used by multiple products. So these are the common product manager roles you will see. So you can see the one that will focus on everything. You can see the one that is focusing more on the growth, making sure that we have a lot of customer retention, people are not moving away. You can see the one that is focusing on technical, you know, the functionality of the product, right? Writing functional specification, you know, with the team and all that. So just imagine, you know, if you know that you're very good with product manager or you're a business analyst and you're thinking of moving into product management, just try to think what are your skills and where you can operate, okay? Now, what is the difference between product and project management? Right? So because product management is existing doesn't mean there won't be project management. So when you think project management, think it from the angle that a project manager is delivering a project based on timeline, budget, and agreed scope. Someone mentioned the other time, is it Erica, that said that when you are focusing on projects, it's going to end, right? Meaning that when you're working on a project, it will end. When it finishes, you pass it to the business, you pass it to operations, right? But when you are focusing on a product, right, you are delivering a goal. The product is your baby. It doesn't end. So in what scenario do we need a project manager? When you have a project manager, think of it in such a way that you have structure. There's a structure in place, right? There's a structure in place, right? You know what you are designing beforehand. You know what you want already, right? You want to deliver a project within these constraints, within a certain timeline. You have a budget in place and you have an agreed scope, right? So think of projects, things like construction. When you're working on a construction, you will need a project manager, because the project manager already knows what they want to do. They understand the structure they want to put in place, but they want to work within a timeline, within a budget, and within an agreed scope. In that scenario, you need a project manager. When you talk about software, another way you can need a project manager is merger acquisition. When two software companies are coming together, right? They are coming together. There are a lot of pieces. There is no uncertainty. There's a lot of moving parts. they are just moving parts, but the project manager will put it together in such a way that they can say this is the end to end of what they want to do, right? So it's a merger, right? So when I say merger, think of something, this is just an example. I'm not saying, but I think it happened, right? Tableau was one, right? Salesforce was one, but Salesforce bought Tableau, right? I heard recently like Salesforce also bought Slack, right? So for those kind of things to happen, right, there will be a merger, right, between Salesforce and Tableau, Salesforce and Slack, right? Though Salesforce is the larger share owner, so they are just buying that application and adding it to their portfolio. So in that kind of scenario, they will need a project manager to manage that, because when they have it in their portfolio already, that's the end. It ends there, right? There's an end game, right? So when you think of merger and acquisition, when you think of building an ERP system, you want to build SAP. SAP is like an ERP system, right? That have different parts. Now, those different parts, is already in place, right? It's already existing, right? So you can use a project manager to do that, right? Because they are just delivering that piece and that's it, right? So you can use a project manager to do that. But when you have a goal in mind, right? You have a goal that is not something that is structured. There is a lot of uncertainty. You need a product manager, right? So imagine that Twitter example. Oh, a lot of our customers are going to leave because Clubhouse is now existing. It's giving them that opportunity not to type, but to just have a discussion. What can we do? So they have a goal. Their goal is to retain that customer, to retain those customers on Twitter. They don't want them to leave Twitter. So that is their goal. So they are now thinking, but there's a lot of uncertainty. It's not like they know what they want to do, but they are thinking, right? They are being creative. They are putting a lot of ideas in place to say, okay, how can we make sure that these users, these customers, consumers don't leave Twitter, right? Then they now started thinking, and part of their ideas was to create a Twitter space, right? Where they can have discussion on Twitter and they don't have to type. Right? So in that scenario, you need a product manager. A product manager is someone that continues to manage something even after the stuff has been launched, right? They keep doing that so that it will not decline. Okay, so that's the difference between a project and a product manager. I hope that is clear. Now, product life cycle. We've talked about what is a product. We've talked about what product management is. We've talked about the forms of product managers. We've talked about the different type of product managers you can have, right? So we said when a product manager is managing a product, this is the life cycle the product manager uses to manage that product, right? So the first segment in the product life cycle is introduce, right? This is you when you introduce your product to the market, the beginning part. So think of it. I don't know if we are all on Windows 11 now. Windows 11 was, I don't know, was it released at the beginning of this year, right? So that is a new product, right? A lot of us are currently on Windows 10, right? But Windows 11 is out already, right? So that's a new product. You introduce a new product to the market, right? At that point, right, you're spending money. Because for you to develop that product, you're going to spend money. I will show you how a product development process happens. But at this point, just think about introduce as when you introduce a new product into the market, right? At this point, you are spending money. You're not making money because you're using that money to develop that product. For you to develop a product, that means you need yes, think of introduce as launch, exactly. You need developers, right? You need people that will do communications. You need people that will write your stories, your blogs, your this, right? Or at this point, you're spending money, right? You're not making money. So at that point, you are introducing into the business, you are introducing into the market. Now, after you've introduced your product into the market, you can even use this for your small products, your businesses that you are launching, right? All those little things you want to, you're launching into the product. you can use it as well. You introduce, at that point, you're not making money because you use money to develop that product, right? After that, the next stage is the growth stage, right? At this point, you know what happened? Your product has been accepted in the market, right? At this point, you are not losing any money anymore. You are not losing anymore. What you need to start happening at the growth stage is you need to start breaking even, right? You start break even. So when they say something is break even, it means that you are not losing anymore. The money you spent, you have started getting to, you are not making profits. Maybe I spent $5. I'm not making my $5 back. You understand? I'm not making profit. I'm making my $5 back. That's break even, right? So at the growth aspect, you are just breaking even. Sometimes when people start making profits at that point as well, right? So now what you're going to be doing at the growth stages, you're thinking, what are your customers saying about your product? Right? What are your customers saying? Right? TikTok, even for me, right? I think TikTok is already in maturity stage, right? Because TikTok now have competitors, right? So, but let's think of the growth. So growth at this point, what are people saying about your product? Do they like your product? You're already making little profit. You've broken even and things like that. That's growth stage. After the growth stage, the next stage is the maturity stage. The maturity stage, you are at the top. Like, you are the best when it comes to that feature, when it comes to that product, right? Now, at this point, when you're at maturity, you start having competitors. People are coming with variation of your product. Remember when Snapchat came out, right? Now, Snapchat started that story, when they say, put something on your story. But before you know it, Instagram is doing story. WhatsApp is doing stories, right? So at your maturity stage, you start having competitors. You are making a lot of money, right? But what you want to do is you want to make sure that your product is better, right? What do I mean? Your product is better in terms of you're doing better than your competitors. You are trying to be more innovative, right? Why are you doing all that? Why are you trying to be more innovative? Why do you want to make your product better? You want to make it better because you don't want your product to decline. You don't want it to die, right? So you are listening to what customers is saying, right? So that you can be better than your competitors. Your competitors are putting you on a fast lane to make sure that your product keeps getting better. You can see TikTok, even there is Reels now, right? There are a lot of competitors, right? So when you start getting to that maturity stage, you start having competitors, right? At the point when you realize that, no more customer, your product, is just there, it's not doing what it should do anymore, or your product, let me say your competitors are not doing better than you, people prefer to use your competitors, they are not meeting the customer's expectations anymore, then your product will start declining. It will start declining until it phases out, right? BlackBerry Messenger as an example. I don't know, is there anyone still using BlackBerry Messenger? If you are still using BlackBerry Messenger, I'm sure you chat with yourself because I don't know who you'll be chatting with, right? If you are still using BlackBerry Messenger, I don't know if there's anyone still using BlackBerry Messenger. At that point, we can as well say BlackBerry Messenger is dead, right? I don't know anyone that still uses that product, right? So if your product is not being used anymore, it's going to just fade off. It's going to die. It's to phase out. So we can say it is end of life. Yes, Kafa, right? So now BlackBerry Messenger is end of life. So that's when we mean that the product life cycle. The product manager will continue to manage that product till it is end of life. So for BlackBerry, that's the end of his life. So as a product manager, this is your life cycle. This is how you keep managing your product till you get to end of life. But most people don't want their product to get to end of life because they don't want to kill it. So they will continue to try and stay in maturity state, steady state, keep getting better, adding more features, being innovative. That's why I said that, especially when you are now dealing with consumers, you need to be more creative, right? You need to be more creative because for you to stay in that steady state, you need to be creative. So you see that the life of a product manager is not so easy as well, right? They have a lot of things to think about. So this is what the product life cycle looks like. So now remember we talked about introduce, right? For you to introduce this product, you need to develop the product. So this is the process at which you develop that product, right? So the product development process, you conceive the idea, right? Now, when you conceive idea, we talk about ideation stage. Ideation doesn't mean that because you are the product manager, you need to be the one to conceive the idea. You just need to facilitate that process. You need to be the one to put things together to make sure that the different ideas are coming in place. You need to have a process in place for you to make sure that we have ideas coming on board, right? So after you have conceived these ideas, what are you doing when you're conceiving the idea? You're thinking of what ways can we solve problems? Clubhouse is coming. They want to do this. How can we solve this problem? How can we make sure that people continue to stay on Twitter, right? Why are we building this? Why do we want to build it, right? What are the user problems? Okay, let's brainstorm. What kind of solution should we put in place, right? What should we focus, right? So you want to understand the purpose of what you are trying to build, right? Then after that, you start planning, you start strategizing. You want to do market research. You want to find out that, okay, what do customer want? How can we make it better? You want to validate that idea you are putting in place is right. The vision for that product, for that feature or product you want to do, it makes a lot of sense, right? At that stage, you start planning. After you start planning, you start developing, right? You are writing your user stories, your specification, you start developing that product. At that point, you want to do the first version of your product, your minimal viable product. I said last week that minimal viable product is what you first release out to the customer, what they can use, your first release, right? Something that the customer can use and they are okay, they can start giving feedback. So you want to do that, right? So when you release that minimal viable product, then you start iterating it. What do you do by iterating? You are collecting feedback. You are making improvement. You are making it better. You start doing iteration. You validate your hypothesis. You continue to improve your product until you are ready to launch. After that, you launch. Now, that launch is the same thing as this introduce, right? When you launch, then you introduce. Then you now start managing the product life cycle, right? You start when you introduce, you start doing growth, maturity, decline, and all that, right? So that's what happened in launch. So after launch, you can see what we have is steady state. Your product will not be in a steady state. That is if it keeps growing, if it keeps maturing, right? But if it doesn't grow, if it doesn't mature, if people did not use your product, if there's no legal issue, there is nothing happening, the public they are gauging their reaction, they are not interested in your product, what do? You kill the product, because during your steady state, you want to optimize your costs, right? You want to increase your revenue, right? You want to make sure that you are growing, right? You are continuing to add more features, right? But if all that is not happening, well, then there's no point, right? You kill it, right? Or maybe you've even finished growing, you've finished maturity stage, but there are other competitors and you cannot even, you can't do anything about it anymore. Your competitors are better, right? Then you do a sunset, right? You end the life of that product, right? So that's what happens, right? So this is the product development process. So after you develop the process and launch, then you start doing this. So if you're a product manager, you are doing all this product development process and you are doing all this product life cycle. You can see that it's a lot of work, right? So that's why you see everybody wants a product manager, someone that will just take care of all these things together. Any question?
Hi, Florence. Please, can you go back to the launch, please? Can you explain it one more time?
This launch?
Yes, please.
This launch is when you finish developing your product. Launch is when you want to introduce your product to the public, right? You want to introduce it to the public to start using your product. So remember when they first introduced Twitter Space to us? That's what we call launch. You are launching it. You are gauging customers' reaction, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me, please.
Hello, Vinita.
Oh, sorry, it's Adeni.
Oh, okay, I saw Vinita's hand up. Okay, hello, Adeni.
Yes, sorry, I forgot to raise my hand. Just one clarification. So the launch is the same thing as what you said. I mean, it will be the same as the MVP, like minimal viable, or I think it's yes. So that maybe the product is not yet fine-tuned, but you launch it, you get feedback, you make improvement, you launch again, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Vinita.
Yes, so when we're talking about plan, develop, iterate, or launch, all these steps have their sub-processes as well, right?
Yes, they have processes, but for the organization, they are always different. The way they do their ideation might be different. Yeah, but this is the main step, right? So when you say develop, if you are working in an agile environment, you're going to use Scrum, for example, right?
Okay.
If you're working in a place where they use waterfall, you use waterfall to do the development. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So for an example, in planning stage, what are the sub-processes you will think of? Like mainly because, from a product perspective, what can we think of? What all processes or sub-processes can take place in planning stage?
So when you're talking about planning, right, things you want to do are you want to strategize, right? You've done the ideation, right? Those ideas you put in place, you want to validate those ideas. So you'll be doing things like market research, right? You want to do things like interviewing customers, users, feedback, surveys, right? So imagine maybe, that's why I mentioned that if you go to Facebook community, sometimes you see some surveys, they want you to answer the questions before you continue using Facebook. They are trying to gather information. They are planning, they are trying to validate. So the goal of that plan is for them to validate those features, those visions that they've set in place, those ideas they conceive. That's what they are trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And for you to do market research, organizations have different ways of doing it, right? So, and when you're doing market research, it depending on who your customers are. So all the example I'm giving were just B2C. So if you're an internal PM, you know who you are going to be doing surveys with. You know the people you're going to be interviewing, right? It will be the business area that wants to use that application you are developing.
Right. So ideally, when we talk about product management and project management, these are the steps which has to be taken at the both places, right?
Yes, if you are dealing with software. So what would differentiate a product manager more is the product manager don't end, it continues.
Right. So it is basically for a particular product.
Yes, like, for a particular product.
For the life cycle of product till it has reached the decline stage.
Yes.
Or the dead stage.
Yes.
But the project is ideally for project to project basis.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So someone is saying, what does a product analyst do? Product analyst, it depends on the organization you are. You might be doing some of this work, but mostly what I see what product analysts do is they do a lot of analysis. You have to be good with data. Those research we're talking about, you do those research, you analyze the data, you put everything together for the team to use, right? So that's what the product analyst would do. Getting those surveys, those metrics, right? Putting all those metrics together and so that they can make decision from it. So you're just doing the subset of the work of a product manager. I hope that's clear, Mo. Okay, so what I have here is just, I'm trying to tell you in some organization, they use this interchangeably. So you have to be very careful, right? So when you talk about product owner, that's product owner on your Scrum team. What you focus on is you're creating vision for your for your product that you're working on, right? You're doing the roadmap. You're planning the product backlog, release planning. You're doing feedback, customer expectation, prioritization. That's what you're doing when you're working on a particular product, right? And you're the product owner, right? Now, that product owner, you are just a representative of the stakeholder on the Scrum team. So let's say, for example, we have a group, personal and commercial banking. They want a product to manage incident management. We now have Abraham, Adeni, Babatunde, Bakole, Bukola, Bumi, like they are part of that business. They want something. They can now say, Bankole, you'll be our product owner for this application. Bankole will now be part of the Scrum team. Is the product owner, right? But your work, it doesn't mean that you're not getting feedback from Ade, Babatunde, Bukola, but you are getting feedback, because you are the one representing them on the Scrum team. So when you are prioritizing, it's based on what Ade, Adeni, Bukola, Bumi are telling you. That's what you're using to prioritize your backlog, right? Based on the value that you're going to be providing to the business. You are just representing them. And what you'll be doing on the Scrum team is you'll be the one to put the product vision together, the product roadmap. You are the one managing the product backlog, right? You are the one planning the release, right? You are the one prioritizing. That's your role, right? And the other thing you'll be doing is that you'll be attending all the Scrum events, right? You'll be refining the product backlog, right? You're not going to refine it alone. You're going to refine it with the team. You are going to be documenting the user stories. Sometimes you might have a business analyst person on your team. Both of you will work together to document the user stories for all the things you want to work on. The acceptance criteria, right? You're going to be doing all that. So that's a product owner on the team representing, right, a business. Now, if you are a product manager, you'll be thinking more of ideation, setting this direction. You are making a case for a product, right? Yeah, you're saying, why should we have Twitter space? We want to retain customers. We want to do this. You are the one making that. You are positioning your product in the market. You are responsible for the profit and loss, right? You are the one that will decide, are we going to buy or build something? You remember I talk about buy or build. Buy is when you buy an application, right? Build is when you build it from scratch within your organization. We call them custom applications, right? So you're focusing on the market. You're the one determining the market strategy, right? You are the one that will determine when to retire the product because you are managing the product life cycle of that product. Now, that product owner, sometimes they do some of this work, right? Now, you know, the product owner is just representing a team, right? So if Bankole is the product owner for that product, right, it doesn't mean that Bankole doesn't have other things that he will be working on within his business. He will be there, but they will have said, you are the one. Tomorrow, the business can say, okay, Bankole, you have other things to do. Bukola, go there and be the product owner for that product. You understand what I'm trying to say? So it's a role on the Scrum team, and these are your expectations, right? But the product manager is more bigger. You are thinking of the life cycle, the go-to-market strategy, all those details. Now, in some organization, they will call you a product owner, right? But by the time you read the job description, by the time you read what you're supposed to do, you will know that, oh, this is a product manager's role. This is what they expect me to do, right? Now, in some organization, that role that we call product owner, they will call you product manager. You get what I'm saying? But you will know that this is what you're going to be doing because you will see things like attend all Scrum events, manage backlog refinement. You will see all those kind of things there. So you will know that even though they're calling you a product manager, think product owner. That's the role you will be doing. Okay, so I'm just trying to differentiate it for you so that when you start seeing those job descriptions, you understand, okay, this is what they want me to do, right? Okay, is that clear? Okay, great. So we're going to be focusing on what the product owner does because we are focusing on Scrum, right? We are diving into Scrum. Okay, so we'll focus on what the product owner does. Okay. So this is what you're going to be doing. You are going to be planning your product roadmap as a product owner, right? Sometimes you'll be called a product manager. You are going to be planning your product roadmap. And for you to plan your product roadmap, so now I'm going to say, Bankole, now your role is to be a product manager for this project. What are you going to do? Now they say you want to implement a Salesforce. What are you going to put in place, right? You want to understand what the product vision is, right? You want to put the strategy in place. You want to put a roadmap in place. You want to put a release plan in place, and you want to have your product backlog. So these are the things you'll be focusing on as a product manager. Now, every other person will say, why do I need to know this? You need to know this because you are part of the Scrum team. You are part of people doing the work. As you're doing the work, don't you want to know what the roadmap is? Don't you want to know when the next work will be released? You want to know what you'll be focusing on for the next iteration, right? So you want to know what the product manager is planning, right? So you need to be aware, right? You need to be able to ask questions that, oh, what is the next item? Is the product backlog refined? Is it prioritized? So that I can know the next items I will be working on, right? So that is why you need to be aware. That's why you need to know, right? So we'll start with the product vision. So these are the things we're going to do today, and we're going to end there, and we'll start Agile tomorrow. So let's start with the product vision. How do you put your product vision in place? These are the 3 ways you can write your product vision. So we have 3 ways. The first one, we call it the product vision board, right? The product vision board, we have something we call the vision, right? You write the vision of your product. What is the purpose for creating this product, right? What are the positive changes that this product will bring to the organization? Then you have your target group, you have the needs, you have the product and the business goal. So this is a product vision board. You can also use an elevator pitch. This is very common. I'm very used to this one. This is what we use in our team, right? Now, for the elevator pitch, you write what's the target customer. Why are you creating this product for? Right? What are the target customer? What is the need? Like statement of need or opportunity, right? What is the product name? And what is the product category? What are the benefits? Why are you doing this? Unlike, who are your competitors? What are your alternatives, right? Our products, meaning what differentiates us from those alternatives. So that's what your elevator pitch will look like, okay? Is the one, is very common. I won't say it's the most popular, but it's very common. We use that. Some organizations that I know as well, they use the vision box, right? So what does the vision box look like? It's just you creating a box that has the front and the back, right? In the front, it's very easy. So I know a lot of people use this. One of my team has used this before, but we use more of the elevator pitch, right? For the vision box, in the front of the product, you write what the product's name is, right? What the product name is, you can do a bit of design of what the product might look like. You write about 3 to 5 key selling points or key objectives of your product, right? Then the back of the box, you write the description of the product, the features of your product, and the target users of your product, right? You write all that. So this just makes it clear to the team to say, these are the things we are going to be working on, right? These are the things we are going to be doing, right? Because it gives that clarity, right? I want to show you an example of one that the team I had last year worked on. Okay, let me just share. Okay, share screen. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this. This is one. They say, think first of what the product vision should be, the big picture, right? So she used the elevator pitch to answer this question. So she's working on a musical app. She said, for young adults who are between the age of 18 and 35, there are music listeners, video players, or emerging artists who stream, shares, download, upload, or download music or video content online. The product is a music and video application that creates and shares playlists with other users of Flaky app and provides discounted services. Unlike alternative solution, Spotify, our product offers discounted services and unlimited content sharing. So you can see that she's giving a product vision in form of an elevator pitch. This is another example of someone that is putting they're using a vision board, right? A music application that caters to all categories of music enthusiasts, both for pleasure and career. Target group, people that like music, right? Emerging artists, what are their needs? What is the product? A music application that allow members to share their playlists on like competing applications, e.g. Spotify. Business goals, users to search and buy songs and video, encourage young emerging artists to sell their music and videos through this portal. Sales will attract discounts, okay? So as a product manager, or let's say product owner, this is what they will expect you to be able to do. You should be able to look at what you are trying to build, that product you're talking about. You should be able to come up with the product vision. Okay? And you can use any of these three methods to come up with the product vision. The product vision board, elevator pitch, and the vision box, right? So because the product vision will represent the core essence of your product, right? What makes your product unique? Why should they use it, right? Who are exactly your customers? You need to be able to document that, right? Because you can't just be building something and you don't know, you can't document it. You don't know what it's used for. You don't even know why you're doing it, right? And it should be clear to everyone on the team, okay? Now, that's the first step. Remember, vision. Now, strategy. You should be able to come up with your product strategy. Now, there are different ways you can come up with your product strategies. So we have 5 ways. You can use the business models, you can use personas, you can use goals, you can use competitive, right, analysis, or you use initiatives, right? So we'll start with the first one, business models. Using business models to come up with your product strategy. This is an example of using your business models. So you can put a canvas together, a business canvas, right? You want to know who are your key partners, right? What are the key activities your project will be doing, right? What is the cost structure, right? How do you want to make revenue from your product? What is your revenue model? How do you want to make revenue? Is it that if people click on your like or something, it's going to give you what? Like, you want to put those structures in place, right? How are we going to make money, right? What are your customer relationship? What are your customer segments, right? So you can use a business canvas to document your product strategy, right? Another way is competitive analysis. You can use a competitive analysis to do that, right? This is an example of a competitive analysis. I don't know if you can see this. This is showing you that you put your competitors, right? You now start analyzing the details, right? You put all the features of your product, right? At the top, you put your features. You now start analyzing based on your competitors, right? Your competitor have these products. Your competitor can do this. Your competitor can do this, but they can't do this. By the time you do those competitive analysis, you will know what your product is bringing on board, what is unique, right? What is unique? Another way you can do your competitor analysis is using SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis will tell you your strengths, your weakness, your opportunities, and your threats. Because that are your opportunities is what you use to make money. You want to know what your strengths are, right? So this is another way you put your strategy together, right? So you can use the business canvas model. You can use the SWOT analysis or competitive analysis by comparing all the features you're trying to build and comparing it with what your other competitors can do. Okay. The third one is let's do personas, right? This is very common. This we do a lot. Gaffer.
Can you please take us back to the business Kanban model? Okay, can you please explain? Thank you.
So I was talking about your product strategy, right? That you can use, we talk about product vision, and you have 3 ways to document your product vision. Now, for your product strategy, you have 5 ways you can document it, right? You can use your business model to do that. You can use competitive analysis. You can use personas. You can use goals. You can use initiative. Then I started picking it one after the other. For business models, right? I said you can use a business canvas. There are different ways you can, there are different techniques, right, for doing your business models, right? You can, why you're doing this business model, you want to understand your customer's problem, like what you want to solve. What solutions will you be building, right? What are the growth opportunities that will exist for that your market, right? So that's why you're doing that business models, and there are different ways. So I said an example is using a business canvas, because in your business canvas, you have to fill all these nice segments, right? Who are going to be your key partners for your product, right? As a product manager, you should know who your key partners will be for your product. If I'm building an internal product, I want to know who my key partners will be. If I'm building, let's say I'm doing a Salesforce application, who is going to be my key supplier, right? I know that means I need to have a Salesforce partner. So what kind of Salesforce partner do I want to have? Is it going to be a gold partner? Is it going to be a platinum partner? You want to start documenting all that stuff, right? Value proposition. What value are we delivering to the customer? Why are we building this product? What is the customer? What would the value? What would be the value? Cost structure. How much will it cost us to build this? High level. What kind of resources do we need? How expensive would they be? You want to document it, right? So this is just an example. We have other ones. We have what we call the Porter 5 forces. We have the 10 Ps, right? We have all this, right? They help with you to do is a way to document your strategy, right? Business canvas is just an example, right? You can use the link canvas, you can use the 10 Ps, you can use the Porter 5. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So I now said another way to do your strategy is to do a competitive analysis. You are comparing with the other products that exist to see that this is what will make us unique. This is what will make us different. This is how we are going to make our money, because our competitors does not have this. You can use a SWOT analysis. Say this is where the opportunity is. This is how we are going to make our money, right? So that's another example. Another way you do it is through personas. If you work within depending on your organization you work, most organizations, especially if you have a UX UI designer, this is where they will focus on more, right? They like to do this because, for example, you remember that example, the vision board I was showing you the other time. The guy said, emerging artists. The one said young adults. Now, they will not start doing personnel. They will take someone to represent a set of people. They can say, this user persona, Alexander. Let's look at it from an example that Alexander is representing emerging artists. They will now say, what is the behavior of Alexander? Alexander likes to make music. He doesn't have an agent, but he needs to be able to do this. These are some of his frustrations, because they are trying to build an application that will suit Alexander. So they are creating personas, and because that persona will help them to determine what features should the application have, right? Because they want to be able to put together an MVP, a minimal viable product. So they are using different personas to determine what the feature should look like, right? So they are now using Alexander to determine, okay, Alexander will want something that is seamless. Alexander wants something that he will be able to log in on his phone. So that means the application should have a mobile component. You can see that is how they reason, right? So you should be someone that you're creative, you can put ideas together so that they can document these features, right? Now, you don't have to make it so fancy. You can see the one in Excel. I've worked with a team that they will just document it in an Excel, right? What are the personnel, what they need and all that. But you work in some organization, they will put the personnel in such a way that it looks beautiful. They will detail what they like, how old the user is, where the user live, what the user expect, what are the frustrations of the user and all that. They will now use that to build the features of that application. So that's another example. Some organization will use goals, right? They will just say, what are the goals of this application, right? This product, what do we want to gain from this product, right? They can say, okay, we want to increase our revenue by 30%, right? We want to branch out and try learning another instrument, right? They'll put a goal together, right? It's through that goal, they will now use that goal to determine what the features will be for the next 18 months. Right? So some organization will combine the two. They will have a goal, they will also do personnel, right? It doesn't mean that you have to use one. You know, when I say strategy, there are different ways you can come up with a strategy, right? But what they are trying to show is this is our strategy, this is our plan of what we want to do. And this is how they be able to put their features together, right? The last one is what we call initiatives, right? They will come up with initiative. What do we want to do, right? So those initiatives, they will now use it to put their product roadmap together. So for example, they will have initiative like they want to have a web application, right? With that web application, what are the things they need to put together, right? So those initiatives, they are the things we call features, right? They will say, these are the things we want to do. These are the things we want to put together. They will now start detailing how they can achieve that web application. They will now start putting it together and say, this is how we want to achieve it. Then they will start building a product roadmap, right? Now, you see, they call it a product development roadmap because it's not yet launched. But these are the things they need to do for the products, for them to launch that product. Remember, we talked about releases, right? You can see version 1.0, version 1.01. At version 1.01, they are ready to launch the app, right? At version 1.0, they are doing a beta. A beta is just, we've put something together. Let's call a group of people to come and look at it and test it and give us a bit of feedback before we launch that app, right? Now, the product roadmap is telling us that now, if the product manager did this team can look at it and say, okay, we plan to launch our application at the beginning of Q2. So it's very clear to all of us that we are launching this product at the beginning of Q2. What are the things we want to launch at the beginning of Q2? We want to have the HubSpot in place. We want to have the SQL DB streamline. We want to have the environment set up. We want to have the wireframe MVP design, right? So everything that is before this Q2, we want to have it in place so that we can launch our first, the minimal viable product. Now, when that is launched, you can see the next one. They said 5% market share. What does that mean? It means that by the time we launch this product, we want to gain the market by 5%. After we gain the market, we'll be launching another release, version 1.10. We'll be launching again. We'll be launching another one after we gain this 5% market share. After that, we'll be launching another one, version 1.2, right? After we have about 15% market share. But all the things we need to do, all the features we need to build, you are going to document it in front of a roadmap, right? So you will take that initiative, that feature, you break it down into epic and user stories and say, this are the ones you're going to do. You now put them in a map to show how you're going to do it, okay? So if you want to see what I'm talking about, this is what it looks like exactly. So you take let's say the theme of what we want to do. We want to build and a musical application, right? That's our team. We want to build a musical application. We put our product vision together. The better is just saying that we are releasing an application, but we are not releasing it to the public. We'll just put a group of people together to test that application before we launch it to the public. Just using a group of people, okay? So you take that feature, let's say we want to build a musical application. You now start having different epic, right? So for example, look at what I have at the side. You have something we call the book flight. Don't worry, we are still going to do a simulation. So that simulation, we are all going to work on it together so it will be clearer. But I want you to understand it before we start doing this simulation, okay? Epic. The epic here is book flight, right? So let's say that we are working on a team called a flight application, right? The team is a flight application, right? Now, we're not saying the epic, the first epic is ability to book a flight. That's one of our epic. So what does that mean? We're saying that we want to have a feature in our flight application called book a flight. So what will you be doing when you book a flight? For me to book a flight, I need to be able to log in, right? I need to be able to search for a flight, right? Those are the things that we call stories. You know, those user stories we're talking about, login. For me to just book this flight, what are the things I need to be able to do? I need to be able to log in. I need to be able to search for a flight, right? Those will now be our stories, right? Another epic can be something else. Maybe I need to be, let's say I need to be able to pay for my flight. Pay for flight is another epic entirely. You now start thinking, how do I want to pay for flights? I need to be able to use my credit card. I need to be able to use my PayPal. Those will now be your stories under that epic, right? So what you are trying to do is you have an epic, then you have stories under that epic, right? You have another epic, you have stories under that epic, right? Now, this is what a product owner or a product manager needs to be able to do. Ability to break these things down. And when you are breaking it down with your team. Okay? Now they will not put it in Jira, right? All these things that you're seeing here, those epic I mentioned, we're going to do it together. So don't worry. It's just for you to have the first understanding before we start doing it together. Okay? So you see epic, you now start having this epic, right? Under each epic, there is a story, right? So look at this epic here, large team support. Large team support. You can see that in Sprint 6, what they are working on is large team support, right? All these update local transport, extend booking experience, update flight control, reward customer extra, they are all stories under this epic. Okay? They are all stories under this epic. Okay? So this is what a sample looks like. I'm going to show you how to document this, right? I'll first show you how to break down this epic into stories, then how to now document it in Jira. Okay? But this is what a product manager is expected to be able to do. And product managers, sometimes they can do a 6-month plan or they have a 3-month plan, right? When they have all this, they will not, when they have all these details, they will now go back to Jira and document it, and we call them the product backlog. So it's just all these things that they are calling product backlog. It's nothing. It's just ability to document them down and put them in the backlog in Jira. That's what they call the product backlog, right? So we're going to do it because we're going to take an example and break it down and go through it together, right? So when we are now doing the Scrum, you understand why you have to know all this, because these are the things you're going to be seeing every day. Okay? In Kirika.
Okay. Hello, Florence.
Hello, Nkiru.
Yeah. I'm wondering, is it like we're going in steps? Do we have features, epic, then stories?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Initially, I assumed you have epic, features, and stories. So it's the other way around.
No, features, epic, and stories. Now, some people will call this thing, they'll just call it the feature, right? Then epic, then stories. But it's epic, then story, right? Some people will now call this epic is also a feature. It's just a feature that is, this theme is like a feature that is too big, that is massive, right? Something that you're thinking, what your idea is, your goal. Then you now start breaking it down into epic. Then when you now look at that epic, you know that for you to deliver that epic, you need to have stories and tasks that you need to do for you to be able to deliver that epic.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll take an example and walk through it together so that it will be clearer, but at least have this understanding. So that when we are walking through that example, you know that, okay, this is what we discussed. Now we are just seeing it live.
Okay. So the theme is the big picture.
Yes.
It's broken into epics.
Yes.
Then epics broken into stories.
Yes.
Okay. So
exactly.
where do we have features? Where do features come in?
So everything is a feature, right?
Okay.
This theme is a feature. This epic is a feature. What is a feature? A feature is something you want to put in place, right? So when you say Twitter space is a feature, is a theme, is a big idea, right? Then you now start breaking that. For me to do this Twitter space, what are the things I need to do? You now start putting them into epics.
Okay.
Then for you to do that epic, you have to write stories, different stories that will help you achieve that epic.
Okay. So is the features and the theme, is it supposed to be the same thing? They can be used interchangeably.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Obio Ma Ogo.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. You made mention, you said after the epic is broken down into stories.
Mm-hmm.
Can we now call those stories as processes?
No.
Because you say, I want to book a flight.
Mm-hmm.
I log in.
Mm-hmm.
I search for flight.
Mm-hmm.
I do this. It's more like a process for booking a flight. Okay?
Yes.
Why I ask this question is, I want to also know if we can combine two epics as one. I will give you another instance.
Okay.
After you said book a flight, you now say pay for flight.
Yeah.
So I can bring all this together. For me to book the flight, I actually have to pay for it at the tail end. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So rather than having this epic and that epic, like epic to book a flight and then another epic to pay for the flight, can I just combine it?
You can combine it. It's up to you and your team. Your team will look at it and say, this epic is too large. Can we break it down? Because it's up to you as a team, right? Because at the end of the day, it's the team, the goal you want to achieve. So how you break it down is up to the team. What most people do is epic. They look at what is similar. Something that you know that they just pick it up, book a flight, pay for the flight, mobile integration. They just pick it up because they know that by the time they start breaking down the story, it's still a lot. There are sometimes you start breaking down the story. If it's too massive, they'll tell you that this is not a story. Can it become an epic? Because it has a lot of things to do under that story. Then it now becomes an epic. Yeah, so it's always up to the team. The team, you guys will work together and determine how you want to break it down. You can see the way they broke this down, right?
Yeah.
Space travel, lab team support, local mass office, right? So it depends on what you and your team classify as an epic. Something that will make you know that when we've done this part, we've done something massive. Because now if you say book a flight, you are already saying that paying for flight should be part of book a flight. Your team can say, no, it should be separate, because for us to do payment is another process entirely. Payment has a lot of things we need to consider. Are we going to do integration with third parties? It's too massive. They don't want to combine it with book a flight. They feel book a flight should be on its own. You understand? So by the time we take an example that we start going to, you'll see even when as a team, how people will say, no, but this is too big. Can't it be on its own? So it's you and the team will agree to do that. Okay?
Okay, so what you just said now is instead of making it too massive, it can be broken down into various epics, right?
Exactly.
I get that one. And then the first question was the user story, the what's it called? The epic. Can we see it as a process?
Yes. I will still get to that. So sometimes you use the process to determine what the stories are, because you have to think through it, right? So you use the process. As you're doing the process, you'll be seeing something that will be a dependency. Another story will come out from it, like that. Okay. So you call the team work together to decide to work on that, to put that together. When we start working on an example now, you'll see that you will be flowing, because as you're thinking about that process, you'll be knowing that these are the things we need to do to be able to achieve that thing.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's getting interesting.
Okay, great. Gaffer, is your hands up or it was from before?
I'm sorry, it was the old hand.
Okay.
Let me bring it up.
Okay, no problem. We are out of time, but let me read Erica's question. Does it come down to story point and team velocity as main factor when classifying epic user stories? No, not like that. But we'll get there. I will explain those story points and team velocity. But just look like epic, like something that when you consider it is something that, okay, we want to do. So I understand where you're coming from in terms of when you look at the epic and say, oh, it's large. Oh, can we break it down? Yeah, but it might not be based on story points. It might just be based on the stories or the things that we need to do to achieve that epic. Or you look at it and say, no, this one can be broken down. This is another thing entirely. This is another thing entirely. You see it while we, walk along. The story point and team velocity is for the sprints, what you are working on at that moment, right? It helps you to determine what is the team's capacity for work every sprint, okay? I'm going to explain that as well, okay? And we're out of time, so I don't want to take everyone's time. So we'll stop there. So that is what is expected of a product manager, right? Or a product owner. And in a Scrum team, there's something we call product owner, product manager. So if you have a product manager or a product owner on your Scrum team, this is what they're expected to be able to do. But as a Scrum team member, you also need to know it, because if you don't, what are you doing in the team? You don't even understand. So you have to understand the big picture, right? You can't just say, oh, I'm coming today. They say I should do acceptance criteria. What are you doing acceptance criteria for, right? Okay, so that's the product manager perspective, okay? And tomorrow we start with questions and we go into Agile. Okay, one more question before we go. I think we are out of time. Okay, so tomorrow bring your questions and we'll start from there. Okay?
All right, thanks, Florence.
Thanks,
good night,
Florence.
everybody.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.